In the latest episode of Fantasy Island, a country superstar inspires some changes on the island, which includes someone deciding it may be time to leave. So to begin, in a non-related country superstar situation, when it comes to Ruby and Isla, there's still this weird situation when it comes to their relationship. It isn't clear whether Isla might be perhaps a mermaid, a ghost, a fantasy that only Ruby can experience. And this is all said because while Elena is still going through something when it comes to breaking up with Javier, and of course Ruby doesn't want to rub this whole new relationship in her face, at the same time she is happy again after getting out of a rather dark period, so she wants to show off Isla a little bit. But no sooner than, Ruby and Isla are in this random bed on the beach, and, Elena's approaching, and, Ruby's like, this is the time to introduce you. Almost as soon as Elena's within eyesight of potentially even seeing a bit of Isla, Isla's gone, and Ruby's just confused about what's going on. Which leads us to the guest this episode, which is a country superstar whose name is Shay Fury, and she arrives with her assistant named Bo. Shay's main goal, or her fantasy rather, is that she wants to find a way to get back to that mindset or that place where she was writing hits and winning Grammys and stuff like that. And for Bo, my bad, he just wants something easier in life, rather, because, to make a long story short, Shay Fury's reason for her having writer's block and all this is because she undercut she undercut Bo when he was in pursuit of having his own music career. And the reason she did this is because he's such a good assistant that she didn't want to lose him. So when he presented a demo to her, she said just enough criticism to kind of make his dreams deferred, but not enough that she would come off as an asshole and that he would decide to quit. So because of that, that's one of the main reasons why she has had block all this time. And you could also add in that she didn't fully forget where she came from, but at the same time, she needed to be humbled a bit. Hence why the island decided to make it so that Bo was the big time celebrity country music star and that Shay was the one who's the assistant. But as much as you may think that what the island is mostly focusing on is Shay and punishing her in some ways, humbling her, and also getting her to apologize to Bo, it also decided to make sure that Bo understood that what you're asking for, this fantasy you have, there's more to it than you think. And it forces him to realize that by having him perform one of Shay's hits, he gets stage fright and, he doesn't feel good about it. And he's forced to realize there's much more to being a country superstar than just getting up on stage, singing a few songs and leaving. Having people keep approaching you and all that, it can get to be a bit much, especially if there's not somebody who's acting as some kind of bodyguard or some type of barrier so that you can have some type of personal space or personal life. And with her getting to know herself better and apologizing to Bo, and Bo getting to understand Shay a bit better and understanding what he's asking for and what he's eventually working to have, the two are able to both get out of the bad parts of the fantasy and get to the good part, which is Shay's able to write a good song. She gives it to Bo, and even though he acknowledges what she's done in the past, in Bo's mind, he just got a hit song, a major song from a country music superstar. So rather than, them break up, he take this song as an apology and, go on to bigger, better things. He wants to go from being her assistant to her duet partner, and she may not be against it. Which leads to the last topic, which is that Helene is at the point now where she is ready to move on. After watching so many people go through things, and also even, have enough time to really properly recover from her mother's death, she begins to open up to Javier about what life was like before the trauma, the dramatics, what life was like before the traumatic time period of her mom dying and then her mom actually being dead. And with that, she reveals that back on the mainland that she was a skier on her way to potentially Olympics, and she had to stop when her mom got sick because it's a very expensive sport. But because Javier is trying to really become a good dad and everything, and he lives on his life on the resort, and while he gets paid, it's like, what does he need to spend money on? His thought is, I have the money to help you get back to the mainland and get back to your old life. Originally, Helene's not really comfortable with this. She's known this man for maybe a couple of, I guess, weeks, depending on how much time passes in Fantasy Island from episode to episode. So she's not really sure about this. But at the same time, she's not going to look a gifted goose in the mouth. Is a gifted horse, a gifted goose? You know what I mean. Either way, she's not going to look at this opportunity and then just automatically deny it just because there's a little bit of discomfort. She decides to take it, and with that, she leaves the island. So when it comes to highlights, I think that this whole mystery with Isla continues to need to question what is going on with the island. With her, is she some type of fantasy conjured up in order to give Ruby the full experience of being able to be a lesbian, in terms of not just finding the one and then, off you go off to happily ever after, but instead dating around, learning what you like, what you don't like, and your heartbreak, like the full experience of dating, finding relationships, finding love? Is that the goal here? Is it trying to maybe hold on to her, like it has some type of agenda, maybe like wanting a backup plan for Elena, and that's why it's kind of giving her reasons to stick around, besides the whole, you leave the island, you die? It's really hard to say, and I would even ask that we know that Elena is able to channel the island in some kind of way and kind of tap into its magic, but how much of what the island has planned for anybody does Elena know? Is she just able to kind of guess and she seems somewhat in tune, like just how Ruby kind of seems in tune with her? Or is it a whole, like, two separate entities where she may get kind of like some type of telepathic wording of, this is what I need you to do, this is what I want you to do, and then execute it? It's all hard to say, but with almost every episode, as something different happens or we see one little odd thing, it really pushes you to wonder, what is the island capable of? There's so much about what the island magic, which you recognize does help people, but sometimes it takes them on really dark paths in order to get there. And I just can't let go of the fact that there was a horror movie made based off of Fantasy Island a couple of years ago, and when you think about that, then you watch this show and how Elena sometimes acts, it really helps you understand how someone thought this would make a good horror movie. And when it comes to the TV show, as much as it's very much about fantasy, romance, and stuff like that, there's so many dark moments that really make you wonder, at what point may the island decide to rebel against Elena or anybody else and take things too far? Which leads to the on the fence topic, which is just thinking that more could have potentially been done with Helene. When she first came onto the scene, she was walking into people's fantasies and engaging with them in a way that really did make it seem that she may become a second Ruby, but maybe someone more in tune with the island, instead of, as we've seen with Ruby, kind of like a puzzle piece, or not even a puzzle piece, but more so like a pawn for the island to move around. Since, as we saw with the episode with the guy who was trying to propose to his partner in the Groundhog Day episode, Ruby is not someone protected from island magic. Every time the island decided to reset things for both the gentleman who was trying to get married and also for Elena, Ruby's whole memory was wiped out. Now, I think the same was done for Helene, but who knows? There's something, to me, there was just something about Helene that could have made her more than just Javier's daughter who popped out of nowhere. As I think we know in the past review, she was somebody who was separated from the whole work thing, so Ruby could have had somebody to complain to and had a relationship with outside of what's romantically going on with Isla and her professional stuff with Elena. Javier would have had a daughter and somebody who we could have opened up about his past and his history and his story. Yet, on episodes that Helene was here, we didn't really get that. Admittedly, we got little bits and pieces of it, but we didn't get the full experience that she had the potential of giving us. And for that, I have to admit I'm a little bit disappointed, but at the same time, who knows what could happen next. And with her exiting, maybe it could mean Segundo coming back and explaining what's behind that door. Overall, as Fantasy Island has one character exit in a way that honestly feels quite sudden, it leaves you to wonder what's next for those who remain. As just noted, there's that door that Segundo was locking up, so maybe he may come back into the fold. And of course, there's always a question of what the island has planned with anybody, especially as it becomes less of an influence on what's going on and more so an unacknowledged force, which Elaine is just the front person for. But unfortunately, we won't find out what happens next for a few weeks, as it seems that for that, I forgot what type of romance show it was. I just know it has cowboys in it, but it seems that's taking precedence over Fantasy Island, so I think we have to wait until maybe, is it April? It's gonna be a while.